the motivation behind managers remaining very vague while complaining about employees and not ever explaining the metrics they're not meeting? Oh God, we should have a glass of wine together to talk about this. I'm going to tell you 3 unwritten rules and reasons at play that could be at play here. I'll end with the one that's the worst situation I've ever been in as a manager. So one of the unwritten rules of white collar or more professional work, especially as it gets more elite, is extreme individualism. This is a conflict for people from working class backgrounds, people of color, women. When you grow up with limited resources or from communal communities, individualism is strange to you and you're more of a teamwork person. Some managers, who usually are from upper middle class, continuing generation professionals, are trying to be vague because they think that they're coaching you on how to figure things out yourself. They're trying to develop your autonomy because they know that is what is going to be rewarded in a white collar elite workplace. I'll add another reason that isn't in the original 3 but is very real, is that since management has shifted, things started becoming more automated during the 90s, management changed from being like walking around the office and making sure you're doing your job. And now there was a book that came out in 2022, 2023, I believe, that was about the history of that change. And it talked about research that showed that 75% of managers still spend 75% of their job doing the tasks they were doing before they were managers. So like coaching and educating you and actually leading is such a small part of their job because they're still expected to deliver on all the things they were before they were promoted, but they're never really trained or given the time to actually lead you and coach you. And that's a major problem. And that is something that I think if we do AI well, we would have things automate and have people actually learn how to lead. Now, I don't think we'll start doing that until we learn it the hard way, though I do think the companies that go the distance will figure this out earlier than others. I believe that book was called Power to the Middle. I recommend it. It's very short, but it was a good read. Okay, back to the unwritten rules. The other one is there might be the unwritten rule of compliance going on, which is that in your organization, you are not allowed to disagree. You're allowed to speak up. You're not allowed to have an opinion. If they're in the situation where they have that dynamic with their boss, or that's just the company culture in general, they may be afraid to give you a specific because if they're wrong, it could fire and blow back on them. If they tell you to work on XYZ and then whoever above them doesn't like that and they can't speak up or verify or advocate for you without consequences, they may be covering their own ass. Now, the original 3rd reason, now the 4th, is the unwritten rule of office politics. Your manager could have no issue with your performance directly, but their manager might. And so they may be the messenger, but not the one who actually has the problem with your behavior. And they could be not able to tell you that without backlash from their manager. May not be able to tell you the reason because it would be a legal issue, and this is also a cover your ass moment. It could be that they're not able to give you a metric because the person above them just doesn't think you're a culture fit, and that they're struggling with that this person is demanding they give you feedback. It's not on an actual performance metric, and that's the problem with unwritten rules. That's why I push this so hard. And the worst situation I've been in as a manager was early in my time at a company. They had hired a new employee. She was older. She had been at her previous company 10 years, and nobody really onboarded her but me. I onboarded her to the part she was doing on my project, and I explained the project history and introduced her to the whole team. She didn't get like an onboarding to the company that was more than like, here's your project manager. And she was really struggling with using some of the tools and such. And anyway, her boss, because in consulting you have like project managers, but then you have like your boss, I guess never touched base with her. Saw she was struggling and was like, we should just cut our losses and get rid of her. This is early. And like, she was still in her probationary period. She'd only been there like 2 weeks. And the executives made me and the program manager I was under give her feedback. And they told us that 2 hours later they were going to fire her. And we pushed back. We were like, she just needs time and training. Like, we just need to onboard her better. Why are we giving her feedback if you're going to get rid of her in 2 hours? And like, and we could not tell her that they were going to get rid of her. And all of this was like recorded with HR present, and ultimately they wouldn't say it, but I figured out like they wanted to be able to say if she sued them that they gave her feedback and she didn't respond in 2 hours. So if you're ever in a situation like that, save those recordings. When you're on the call, you see HR present and it's a call like that, save those recordings and send them to your personal email because you need that timestamp. If you have a manager giving you vague feedback, always follow up an email asking for specific metrics to meet or specific examples of times you didn't meet that metric. That forces the paper trail on your end because they're documenting a paper trail of all of your violations. So you also need a paper trail that you sought feedback and you sought opportunities to correct your performance. Sometimes people just need to be asked in a different way. You can ask, like, what would success look like for you? You can ask them, what would success look like in 30 days? Like, give them time frames for what it's going to look like and follow up. And if that conversation is in person, also follow up over email and summarize, thank you so much for your time. This is what I heard. This is what we agreed I need to do next by this date, and done. And send that to your personal email as well. Because if you do get fired, you will immediately get locked out of all systems and you will lose your paper trail. Questions like this are why I research the Unwritten Rules of Work for the working class and neurodivergence. If you're new here, I have a book coming out this fall and I have a free chapter linked in my bio. You can also book 20 minutes with me if you want to talk more one-on-one about your situation. I have more good things coming soon. Give me a follow and those will be announced hopefully very soon.